Everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be tackling a topic that's super important for anyone managing diabetes or really just trying to live a healthier lifestyle.
Right?
We're going to be diving deep into an article titled, "The Top 10 Foods Every Diabetic Should Avoid."
Okay.
And hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll be ready to make some really informed choices about your diet.
Sounds good.
Oh, and before I forget, if you're enjoying these deep dives, we'd love it if you could like, share, and subscribe to Visions Beyond.
Yeah, we really appreciate the support.
So let's jump right in.
Yeah.
This article really hits home when it starts off with the quote, "You are what you eat."
It's so true. And for someone managing diabetes, that's a powerful reminder.
Right.
I think what I like about this article is it's not just about listing foods,
Yeah.
It's about understanding why these foods can be problematic for people with diabetes.
Totally.
Right.
It goes beyond just the "don't eat this" and into the "here's why." So the article jumps right in and calls out sugary drinks as public enemy number one. We're talking sodas, fruit juices, even those fancy sweetened teas.
Oh, yeah, those are sneaky.
Right.
They seem harmless, but they're loaded with sugar.
It's like they're designed to sabotage our efforts.
They use this really great analogy in the article. They compare these drinks to like a toxic friend.
Oh, interesting.
Fun for a moment, but ultimately causing trouble. You get that quick energy boost, but then
Yeah, you crash.
you crash, and you're left with all that extra sugar that your body just doesn't need.
So let's break it down. Why are sugary drinks especially bad for people with diabetes?
Well, think about it. You gulp down a soda,
Yeah.
and it's like a sugar bomb going off in your bloodstream.
Whoa.
Your blood sugar levels spike rapidly, and over time, this can lead to insulin resistance.
Okay, so for our listeners who might not be familiar with that term, what exactly is insulin resistance?
So insulin is a hormone that helps regulate your blood sugar levels.
Right, it helps your cells absorb glucose from the blood.
Exactly. But when you have insulin resistance, your cells stop responding to insulin properly. They become resistant to its effects.
So the insulin is trying to do its job,
Yeah.
but the cells are like, yeah, we're good.
Exactly. And this makes it much harder for your body to manage blood sugar effectively.
And that can lead to some serious long-term complications, right?
Absolutely. We're talking increased risk of heart disease, nerve damage, even vision problems.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really serious stuff.
And the article mentions that just one can of soda
Yeah.
can exceed the recommended daily sugar limit for diabetics.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
It is.
It really puts things into perspective when you think about it that way. And it's not just sodas either. Many fruit juices and sweetened teas.
Yeah, they're just as bad.
Just as bad. They can be packed with just as much sugar, but they hide behind this facade of being healthy.
Right. You think, oh, it's juice. It must be good for me.
Exactly.
But that's not always the case. So ditching the sugary drinks is definitely a must.
Sure.
But what are some good alternatives? What can
Well-
we drink instead that won't spike our blood sugar?
Well, water is always a great choice.
Good old H2O.
Yep. You can add a squeeze of lemon or lime for some flavor.
That's refreshing.
Unsweetened herbal teas are fantastic too.
I love herbal tea. Me too.
And if you're looking for something with a little fizz, sparkling water can be a good option. It gives you that carbonation without all the added sugar.
Okay, those are some great ideas. I'm definitely going to be reaching for more of those. So moving on, the article tackles those carb-heavy culprits. White bread, white rice pasta.
Staples?
They seem so basic. What's the issue with them?
It all comes down to the refining process. These grains have been stripped of their fiber,
Okay.
and that turns them into these starchy foods that quickly break down into sugar in your body.
So it's like they've lost their protective armor.
Exactly.
And fiber is what helps slow down that process.
Fiber is a superhero when it comes to blood sugar control.
Love that.
Yeah.
So tell us, why is fiber so important?
Well, it slows down digestion. That prevents those rapid blood sugar spikes that we've been talking about and helps keep your blood sugar level stable.
So it's all about keeping things nice and even.
Right. Without fiber, your body has to work overtime to regulate your blood sugar, and that can be exhausting in the long run.
Makes sense. So what are some good alternatives to those refined grains? What can we eat that will give us that fiber boost and keep our blood sugar happy?
Swap that white bread for whole grain bread, trade white rice for brown rice, and get adventurous with zucchini noodles.
Oh, zoodles.
Zoodles! They're a fun and healthy twist on pasta. They're packed with fiber and nutrients, and they're much friendlier to your blood sugar.
Right, I'm sold. Zoodles are on the menu this week, so we've tackled sugary drinks and refined carbs. What's next on the list of foods to avoid?
Get ready for this one. Fried foods. Those crispy golden brown
Oh,
temptations.
no. My weakness. Fried chicken, French fries, onion rings.
I know, right? They're so good. But for people with diabetes, they can be a real problem.
So break it down for us. Why are fried foods especially bad for people managing diabetes?
Well, it's a combination of things. First, the high fat content.
Yeah.
Fried foods are loaded with fat. And when you combine that with carbs, which are often present in fried foods too, it's a 1-2 punch that can lead to insulin resistance.
And we know all about insulin resistance now.
Right. And that's not all. Fried foods also increase inflammation in the body, and inflammation can contribute to a whole host of health problems.
So it's like a double whammy of bad news.
Pretty much. Plus, all those extra calories from frying make it harder to maintain a healthy weight, which is also crucial for managing diabetes.
So swapping crispy for healthy is the way to go. But let's be real, those cravings can be tough to resist. What are some ways we can satisfy our fried food cravings without sabotaging our health goals?
Think about baking, air frying, or grilling. These methods let you enjoy crispy, flavorful dishes without all the added fat and calories of deep frying.
Okay, I like where this is going.
So, for example, if you're craving French fries, try baking sweet potato fries instead. They're crispy and satisfying, and they're packed with nutrients.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be trying that. All right, fried foods are out. What about dairy? We've always been told it's good for us, right?
Dairy can be a good source of calcium and protein, but full-fat dairy can be a bit tricky for people with diabetes.
So we're talking whole milk, cream, full fat, cheese, that kind of thing.
Exactly. The issue here is the high saturated fat content.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting. How does saturated fat affect diabetes?
Well, saturated fat has a reputation for raising LDL cholesterol,
The bad cholesterol.
bad cholesterol, and that's especially concerning for people with diabetes because they already have an increased risk of heart disease.
So full-fat dairy is like a double whammy for heart health.
You got it. And don't forget, full-fat dairy can contribute to weight gain, which we know can complicate diabetes management.
So moderation and making smart choices with dairy are key. What are some good swaps we can make?
Opt for low-fat or fat-free dairy options.
Fine.
That'll help you reduce your saturated fat intake. You can also explore plant-based alternatives like unsweetened almond milk or coconut yogurt.
Those are good options.
They offer that creamy texture and deliciousness without the saturated fat.
Those are some great alternatives. It's all about being mindful of what we're putting into our bodies and how it affects our health in the long run. Up next, we're diving into a category that can be a bit sneaky: packaged snacks.
Oh.
Those chips crackers, snack bars that lure us in with their convenience,
Right.
but often hide a not-so-healthy truth.
Exactly. They're wolves in sheep's clothing. They might look tempting and convenient, but they're typically packed with refined carbs, unhealthy fats, and a whole lot of sodium.
It's amazing how those seemingly innocent snack choices can pack such a punch. How do these packaged snacks actually affect blood sugar, and what are the long-term implications?
Well, remember those refined carbs you talked about earlier?
The ones that cause those rapid blood sugar spikes.
Yep. Packaged snacks are often loaded with them. They give you that quick burst of energy, but then you crash and you're left feeling hungry and craving more.
And it's a vicious cycle. You eat more, you crash more, you crave more.
Exactly. And that's not the only problem. The high sodium content in these snacks can contribute to high blood pressure, and high blood pressure is a common issue for people with diabetes.
So it's like a double whammy of bad news for blood sugar and heart health.
Exactly. It's like a recipe for trouble hidden in a shiny package.
Okay, so we need to ditch the packaged snacks, but what can we eat instead? What are some healthier alternatives that can satisfy our cravings without all the negative consequences?
The article encourages us to go back to basics: whole, unprocessed foods.
I like it. Keep it simple.
Exactly. Think about raw nuts, a handful of air-popped popcorn, or some hummus with veggie sticks.
Those are good ideas.
These options offer a satisfying crunch, provide sustained energy, and they're packed with nutrients. It's a win-win for your taste buds and your health.
I love that. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. Okay, let's move on to another breakfast staple that often hides a surprising amount of sugar. Breakfast cereal. You know those colorful boxes promising a healthy start to the day? What's the deal with breakfast cereals? And why should people with diabetes be cautious?
It's incredible how marketing can create this health halo around certain foods, and breakfast cereals are a prime example.
You think, oh, it's cereal, it must be healthy.
Right. But the truth is, many cereals, even those marketed as healthy or low fat, are actually loaded with hidden sugars.
Oh, wow. So it's not just those obviously sugary cereals aimed at kids.
Nope. Even some of the cereals that seem like healthier choices can be packed with sugar. It's a classic case of don't judge a book by its cover.
So we really have to read those labels carefully.
Absolutely. Look beyond the marketing claims, and you might be surprised at how much sugar is hiding in your favorite cereal.
Okay, so we know sugar is bad for blood sugar control. But why is starting the day with a sugar-laden cereal especially problematic for people with diabetes?
Well, imagine this. You eat a bowl of sugary cereal first thing in the morning.
Okay.
It sends your blood sugar soaring, and that sets a negative tone for your whole day. Your body then has to work overtime to bring those levels back down.
So it's like starting your day on an energy roller coaster. You get that initial rush, but then you're setting yourself up for a crash later on.
Precisely. Instead of setting yourself up for that blood sugar roller coaster, the article recommends starting your day with options that provide sustained energy and keep your blood sugar stable.
So what are some good examples of that? What should we be eating for breakfast instead of sugary cereal?
Think about steel-cut oats, a veggie-packed omelet, or a bowl of Greek yogurt topped with nuts and berries.
Those sound like much more satisfying and nourishing ways to start the day. Okay, let's move on to a beverage that often comes with mixed messages. Alcohol. Can people with diabetes enjoy a drink or two, or is it best to avoid it altogether?
That's a great question, and it's one that requires careful consideration. Alcohol's effect on blood sugar can be quite complex.
Okay, so it's not a simple yes or no answer.
Not at all. Alcohol can act like a double agent. It can cause both blood sugar spikes and dangerous drops.
That seems tricky.
It depends on what you drink, how much you consume, and a few other factors.
So let's break it down. What types of alcoholic beverages should people with diabetes be particularly cautious about?
Sweet cocktails and wines are the biggest culprits when it comes to blood sugar spikes. They're often loaded with sugar, which is quickly absorbed into your bloodstream, sending your blood sugar levels soaring.
So those sugary margaritas and pina coladas are definitely off the menu.
I'd say so, especially for someone managing diabetes. Now, on the other hand, heavy drinking can actually lead to dangerously low blood sugar.
Really? That seems counterintuitive. How can alcohol lead to low blood sugar?
Well, heavy drinking can interfere with your liver's ability to release glucose into your bloodstream. And that leads to a drop in blood sugar levels, which can be extremely dangerous, especially for people taking insulin or certain diabetes medications.
So it sounds like moderation is absolutely key when it comes to alcohol. And certain types of drinks are much riskier than others. Are there any alcoholic beverages that are generally considered safer for people managing diabetes?
If you choose to drink, sticking to dry wines or spirits like vodka soda is generally considered a safer bet.
Okay.
The key is to avoid those sugary mixers and be mindful of your intake.
Moderation, moderation, moderation.
Exactly. And it's also important to remember that alcohol can lower your inhibitions.
Oh, that's a good point.
So you might be more likely to make less than healthy food choices after you've had a few drinks.
Right, you're not thinking as clearly about what you're eating.
Okay.
Let's move on to our next category. Those seemingly innocent additions to our meals. Condiments and sauces.
Yeah.
Ketchup, barbecue sauce, salad dressings, they all add flavor. But what's the hidden danger lurking in these flavor enhancers?
Condiments and sauces are often overlooked, but they can be sneaky sources of hidden sugars and unhealthy oils. A small dollop here and there might not seem like much, but it can add up quickly.
Especially if you're not paying attention.
Right. You really got to be mindful of those seemingly small additions because they can sabotage your efforts to manage your blood sugar.
Why are these hidden sugars and condiments particularly troublesome for people with diabetes?
They can contribute to unexpected blood sugar spikes, especially if you're enjoying a meal that's already higher in carbs.
So you might think you're having a healthy salad,
Right.
but if it's drenched in a sugary dressing, it can quickly turn into a blood sugar bomb.
Exactly. So reading labels carefully can help you spot those hidden sugars, and making your own dressings and sauces at home can be a healthier option.
That's a great tip. Homemade dressings and sauces not only taste fresher, but you also have complete control over the ingredients. Okay, we're down to our last category in this deep dive into foods people with diabetes should try to avoid. Baked goods. Those tempting muffins, cookies, cakes that seem to call our names with their irresistible aromas.
Oh, yeah. Baked goods are tough to resist.
They really are. What's the downside of indulging in these sweet treats, especially for people managing diabetes?
Baked goods are often a triple threat for people with diabetes. They're typically high in sugar, refined flour, and unhealthy fats.
Okay, let's break down why that combination is so problematic.
Well, the high sugar content, as we've discussed throughout this deep dive, leads to those rapid blood sugar increases that can be so challenging to manage.
Right.
The refined flour lacks fiber, so it doesn't do anything to slow down digestion or stabilize blood sugar. And then you add in those unhealthy fats, which can contribute to weight gain and other health issues. It's like a perfect storm of ingredients that can wreak havoc on your blood sugar control.
It sounds like it. But for many people, baked goods are a source of comfort and enjoyment. Does that mean that people with the diabetes have to give up these treats completely?
Not at all. Remember, it's all about moderation and making informed choices. You can still enjoy baked goods, but try to keep the portions small and savor every bite.
Really savor those moments.
Yes. And you can also explore healthier alternatives. There are so many creative recipes out there for diabetes-friendly treats that use things like almond flour, natural sweeteners, and heart-healthy fats.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So we can still enjoy those flavors and textures without all the guilt and the blood sugar roller coaster.
Exactly.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive exploring the top 10 foods people with diabetes should try to avoid. But it's not just about what to avoid, right? It's about empowering ourselves with knowledge and making informed choices that support our health and well-being. What are some key takeaways from this deep dive that our listeners can apply to their daily lives?
I think one of the most important takeaways is the power of knowledge. Reading food labels carefully can really make a difference. You'd be amazed at what can be lurking in foods that seem harmless. It's all about becoming a savvy consumer and taking control of what you're putting into your body.
I love that. It's like we're on a mission to uncover those hidden culprits and make informed choices for our health. What else can our listeners do to set themselves up for success?
Planning ahead can make a huge difference. If you have healthy snacks and meals prepped in advance, you're less likely to make impulsive, unhealthy choices when you're hungry. It's like having a secret weapon against those cravings.
That's so true. Having those go-to options readily available can really help us stay on track, especially when we're short on time or feeling overwhelmed. And let's not forget the power of moderation.
Absolutely. It's not about deprivation. It's about making conscious choices. If you choose to indulge in something that's not on the diabetes-friendly list, keep the portions small, savor every bite, and enjoy it without guilt.
Throughout this deep dive, we've also highlighted a ton of delicious and healthy alternatives to the foods we've discussed. It's been really inspiring to see how many options are out there. What has stood out to you as we've explored those alternatives?
What I find most encouraging is that managing diabetes through diet doesn't have to be about sacrificing flavor or enjoyment. There are so many creative and delicious ways to enjoy food while still prioritizing your health. It's all about finding a balance that works for you and allows you to live a full and satisfying life.
I couldn't agree more. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question to ponder. If you could design your perfect diabetes-friendly meal, what would it include and why? Think about the flavors, the textures, the nutrients. What would make it the ideal meal for you?
That's such a great question. It encourages our listeners to take all of the knowledge we've explored today and apply it to their own lives. It's about creating a personalized approach to eating that supports both our health and our enjoyment of food.
This has been such an insightful exploration of the power of food choices for managing diabetes. Remember, you have the power to take control of your plate and your health. Start by eliminating or reducing one of the food foes we've discussed today and see what a difference it makes. And hey, before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Visions Beyond. Until next time, happy and healthy eating.
It's really about understanding those principles and then figuring out what works best for you and your lifestyle.
Yeah, because who wants to feel deprived all the time?
Exactly.
And throughout this episode, we've talked about those food foes, but we've also highlighted a ton of delicious and healthy alternatives.
Right.
It's been inspiring to see just how many options are out there. What has stood out to you as we've explored those alternatives?
Well, what I find most encouraging is that managing diabetes through diet doesn't have to mean giving up flavor or enjoyment.
Totally.
There are so many creative and delicious ways to enjoy food while still prioritizing your health.
It's not about just eating bland, boring food.
No.
We can still have fun and enjoy our meals.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance that works for you and your life.
Yeah.
You know, a balance that lets you live a full and satisfying life.
I love that. And to wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question to ponder.
Okay.
If you could design your perfect diabetes-friendly meal, what would it include and why?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Think about the flavors, the textures, the nutrients. What would make it the ideal meal for you?
That's such a great question. It really gets our listeners thinking about how to apply all of this knowledge we've discussed today to their own lives.
Right.
It's about creating a personalized approach to eating that's good for both their health and their enjoyment of food.
This has been such an insightful deep dive into the power of food choices when it comes to managing diabetes. Remember, you have the power to take control of your plate and your health. Start by eliminating or reducing one of those food foes we talked about and see what a difference it makes. And before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Visions Beyond. Until next time, happy and healthy eating. And it really is about understanding the why behind these recommendations. It's not just about following rules blindly.
Exactly. It's about making informed choices, understanding how these foods affect your body, and then deciding what works best for you.
It's about finding that balance that lets you enjoy food while still taking care of your health. And we've talked about a lot of those food foes in this deep dive.
We have.
But we've also highlighted a ton of delicious and healthy alternatives. It's been inspiring to see all the different options out there. What stood out to you as we've explored those alternatives?
You know, what strikes me is that managing diabetes through diet doesn't have to be about deprivation. It doesn't have to be boring. There are so many creative and flavorful ways to enjoy food while still prioritizing your health.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
where you're eating delicious food that you love,
Yeah,
but you're also making choices that support your overall well-being.
exactly. And I think that's a really empowering message.
Absolutely. It's about taking control of your health, but not feeling restricted.
Mm.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay, I like it.
If you could design your perfect diabetes-friendly meal, what would it include and why? Think about the flavors, the textures, the nutrients. What would make it the ideal meal for you?
That's such a great question to leave our listeners with. It really encourages them to put all of this information into practice, to think about their own individual needs and preferences.
Right. It's about taking this knowledge and creating a way of eating that works for you and your lifestyle.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Finding what works for you and making healthy choices that you can stick with long term.
This has been such an insightful exploration of the power of food choices when it comes to managing diabetes. And I hope our listeners feel empowered to take control of their health and make informed decisions about their diet. So before we go, I want to remind everyone to like, share, and subscribe to Visions Beyond. We really appreciate your support. And until next time, happy and healthy eating.